Greetings. Welcome to the MetricStream GRC Summit. I'm Sunay Zelawat. I work as Product Manager for Internal Audit Management. Today in this session, we're going to talk about all the product innovations that we have done using the N7 integrated risk platform. Before we start moving to the new things that we have built and the new features we have created, it is very essential to also talk about the emerging trends in the internal audit world. The very first trend that I would like to talk about is the agile internal auditing. As we know, the world is moving towards digitalization. Organizations are getting transformed and they are reinventing their core business. They're also looking for new revenue streams by utilizing new tools and technologies. Now, with this, there is a good chance of new risk coming in the way of the organization. And that is where the internal auditing team have to be prepared to handle such kind of risk on ad hoc basis, or let me say in a dynamic way. This is where the traditional practices should be transformed into more agile or more dynamic way of internal auditing. And that's where it is going to add a lot of value. The second point that we have or that we are observing as part of the emerging trend is collaborative auditing. Now, we have seen that businesses are doing cross-domain use cases. They are building new businesses that involve multiple teams to work together. And that is where it is very important for teams to break the silos and join the forces and work together in a collaborative way. This is also important for the auditing team to work with different teams to ensure that the processes are fast-tracked and the bottlenecks are avoided to have a more result-oriented approach. The third internal auditing trend that we are seeing, and again, this is quite important, is the integrated assurance. In most of the cases, when we talk about the internal auditing traditional practices, the focus have always been on controls. But because now the whole ecosystem is moving toward digitalization, risk is becoming very important. And instead of a single dimensional approach, the organizations have to start taking the multidimensional approach, where along with controls, risk is also going to play a very important role. And this is where integrated assurance will bring in a lot of value. Now that we have talked about some of the emerging trends, let us also look at some of the capabilities that we have built around the trends that we are seeing in the market. The latest innovation that we have done in internal auditing is based on three key themes. The first one is collaboration. We have talked about some in the trends as well. The second one is usability. It is very essential that the user who is working on the application to mitigate a lot of risks and ensure that the organizations can easily derive values, the application have to bring in intuitive functions. It has to bring in nifty functions that adds a lot of usability factor. And the third one that we're going to talk about is collaboration. So collaboration, usability, and agility are some of the key themes that we have kept as part of the innovation that we have built in our product. The first function or the first feature that I'm going to talk about is dynamic audit planning. In dynamic audit planning, as I said, that the organizations have to start focusing on the risk. We have the planning advisor that is going to guide you with the key risks that are evolving in the system and what type of impact that can create. This is where the teams can look at the risk and the score associated with it and can easily use it to create the audits and start mitigating those risks. Cross-functional auditing, this is where a lot of collaboration is happening, where a lot of teams are going to work together. They are going to join forces, and that's where there is a cross-functional auditing capability that we have introduced. Along with that, we have also introduced the ad hoc auditing. I'm going to show you that as part of demo as well, where teams can create the ad hoc audits even if they have not selected a plan. This will help them in mitigating some of the risks that have emerged in the system where the team want to take an immediate action. Again, we have added a lot of functionality in terms of the flexible approach of work papers. Now there can be co-auditors as part of the work papers. We have also broken the monolithic architecture where the design and operational work papers were quite integrated and they used to always work together. Now we've broken this and we have given these work papers more flexibility so that there's no dependency and team can take decisions as and when the things improve or things move forward. The fourth point is collaborative audit reporting publication. This is where we have added the Microsoft Word capabilities, where now teams don't have to have the local versions of the report on their machines and manage it in a very haphazard way. Rather than you always go ahead, open the Word document, Word application on your desktop or your laptops and just start creating or just start updating the documents, and everything happens and gets saved on the server side. So these are some of the features where we believe that the teams who are going to use our application will find it very useful in mitigating some of the challenges that they are facing now and for the future as well. Without wasting any further time, let me directly get into the demo and start showcasing you the capabilities. Now, when we log into the application, this is the application of internal audit. When the user logs in, user is going to see the dashboard. Now, dashboard or the home screen where you have a lot of charts and reports adds a lot of value. When a business user or say someone from the higher management wants to have access of some of the key activities that are happening in the system, the home screen is going to add a lot of value. On the top, you can see that there are important aspects that talks about the open audits, how many risk assessments are there. When you move down, there are different charts that talks about that, what are different auditable entities, what type of risk that are created in the system. And you can also see that what is the audit scope and the work papers on that the team is working on. So this gives a very holistic view in which the management can look and act upon all the activities that are happening in the audit management team. We also have reports that can be integrated as part of the home dashboard, and that can give you more details and you can get into more deep dive as and when required. Now, the dashboard is quite configurable. You can move around things, you can add different charts, different reports from different tabs, and this gives a lot of flexibility to create something which is quite informative and which is quite relevant for the user who's using it. The next feature that I'm going to talk about is the planning advisor. Now, this is something that I was referring to when we were talking about the dynamic way of planning. Now, the planning advisor is moved away from the control-based approach to a risk-based approach. This is where the business can see all the evolving risks and what type of impact it can create. Now, for example, I've selected the Acme Bank, and this is a very high risk item. Maybe this is a new business that is evolving, or maybe there are certain processes that are not standardized. And this is where team can select it, and team can then take and either add it to an existing plan, or they can add it to an existing audit project. And that's where system have a lot of flexibility where you can derive a very dynamic way of planning an audit based on an entity that is of a high risk. Moving to the next option that we have. So when you log into the application, the very first thing that you're going to see is the dashboard or the home screen. So this is where a lot of charts and metric cards and reports can be configured so that the person who's looking into the application, and when they visit the home screen, they get to know what are the key aspects or the key activities that are happening in the system. For instance, let me start with the very first metric card, which is the open audits. So the user will be able to get to know how many audits are open, how many audits are going under field work, how many audits are undergoing final reporting, and all these are clickable fields so that you can drill down and find out more information. The second card that I have talks about the assessment. So assessments, these are the risk assessment. This is going to talk about how many are closed, how many open, and how many assessments are ongoing. Along with that, there are a couple of other things that we can display. And let me say, all of these are configurable. These are some of the charts that we have configured for this demonstration, but it can be configured based on your business requirement. So what we've configured next is about the auditable entities. We've also defined what type of risk are there in the system so that user have a good understanding of the same. User can also get to know that what are the auditable entities, are they going through change, and what auditable entities are not under scope. And then we can also get an understanding on the work papers on that the team might be working on. We can also easily define a report which will give you more detailed understanding of your audits, and if I may say that something else that you wish to see in the home dashboard, right? And again, as I said, this is quite configurable. You can drag and drop things and you can arrange it accordingly. You can also pick and choose reports from different options. For example, you can move certain reports from audit planning, you can move certain reports from audits, or maybe audit universe, which are relevant to you. And this can be configured for the business, for the user, so that user can have good understanding of the application and what's going inside it. Now let's talk about the next important item or next important feature. In starting, when I was talking about some of the trends, I was mentioning that it is very essential that we get into an agile mode. When we talk about the planning advisor, this is the place where the system is going to find out all the entities that are quite risky, and the user can take a call that now they should be acting upon it. It is also going to talk about that what type of implication it can have. Let me just take an example. The first entity that I see, which have a high risk rating at Minio Bank UK. So maybe this is a new business division that the company has started, or maybe some of the activities are not yet standardized. There can be n number of challenges. And this is where the auditors can select it and can decide to either create a new audit plan and attach it to that, or maybe add it to an existing auditing project. But the whole point is that now the risk becomes very important for anyone to take action, and this is what planning advisor is going to help you with. Assume that you have created a plan, and let me just quickly walk you through what are the plan configurations are and what are capabilities you will get as part of the audit plan. So you can define all the basic things, all the important things relevant to a plan, but along with that, you can also define what type of budget this plan is going to consume. It can be in man days, it can be in the dollar value, or maybe in a local currency in which your application is installed. This will also talk about the audit projects. Audit projects are nothing but the collection of audits, and you can add more audits to it. As in when you identify new audits, you can keep adding to the plan. And that's where it brings in a lot of aspect of dynamic planning. You can have all the additional information associated as well, which can be scope of this plan, approach, business overview, and things like that. So that anyone who goes through the detail of an audit plan get to learn a lot about all the aspects, all the important aspects related to it. Now let us assume that we have defined a plan, and within the plan we have different projects or the audits that we have configured. Now let me open one of the audit that we have seen, which is Neobank Dynamic Audit, and let me walk you through different aspects of this audit and what type of collaboration that we provide when we are talking about the auditing capability. Now let us see this particular example where I have enabled cross-functional STS. So that is where there is a lot of collaboration when different teams can work together, and system is going to allow you to select what all groups are going to work together to fast track this audit, or maybe solve some of the bottlenecks to derive the business value. And you can add multiple people who will be working on it. So for instance, I've added one audit manager, but there are multiple lead auditors. And these lead auditors or the audit managers can be across different groups as well. Couple of other important things. I can select the resource pool, I can define the estimation, and then the resource manager can take a call and allocate resources that can help this particular audit to be executed. Other things that I can add is I can add a contact. So these contacts can be either auditees or can be someone, some external stakeholders, or maybe someone from the audit group. So these people will be aware of the audit reporting as and when it's going to get generated. So these are, and you can definitely attach more documents to add more detailed understanding or more detailed view of a particular dynamic audit as well. Now that we have seen the audit, let us also talk about another aspect that I've mentioned, which is the ad hoc auditing. Now with dynamic way of internal audit, it is very essential that the user can create the audit without dependency of a plan. In case you have identified that there's a risk and you have to immediately take an action. Now, creating a plan can take time. You have to get into a lot of planning. You may have to collaborate with a lot of team. That may consume a lot of time. But in case if you want to act upon it on an immediate basis, you can always go ahead with an ad hoc audit. Now, You can see the plan name is ad hoc audit. That means that there's no specific plan that is associated to it. Another thing that you can do is you can also create audits in a restricted way. So here you can see the filter. Currently it is no restriction, but you can also define what type of restriction you want to add to this particular audit. A couple of other features that are quite relevant when it comes to audit, and especially when it comes to the work paper. As I was talking about that we have enabled collaboration in work paper as well. Now you can easily select if work paper collaboration should be yes or no. If you set it to yes, you can have co-auditors working on the work paper. You can also give access to the auditors so that they can start creating their own work paper. This brings in a lot of independent way of managing the audit work papers. Now the auditors don't have to depend on long approval cycles. They can start working to address the challenges in a very fast track way, right? And then you have the milestones where you have defined different milestones. You can also set that what type of budget you want to allocate. And either you can add the dates manually, or as in when you progress in the system with different activity, system is going to add a date accordingly. You can also add team. So team is, so in ad hoc audit system gives you flexibility that you can have people across different teams, different organizations. And this is where you can create a team so that the people can act on the audit on an immediate basis. Another thing which I talked about is the contact, where you can add different contacts who will be aware of the reports, audit reports, as and when they are going to generate. These can be internal or the external stakeholders. So this is about how we create an ad hoc audit, and this is where you get a lot of dynamic nature of auditing in the application. We've also added a usability feature. Now this feature is about the audit plan scope. A particular scope in an audit can be quite lengthy. It can have different child entities which can be controls and then tests. And in case if someone have to prioritize this or arrange it in a way in the order in which the execution is going to happen, we have given a utility where the user can easily drag and drop, and the movement of the scope is easily going to happen. So it is applicable on the parent entity as well as it is applicable on the child entity as well. So that gives a lot of flexibility in terms of managing the aspects. So for example, if I have to manage the child entity as well, I can easily do that. Now, talking about another key aspect that we have, which is the issues. Now, it is very much possible that when you have started working on an audit, you have identified an issue, but now the work papers are yet to start, or work papers are not yet reached a state where you can start associating issues to it. Because you should not be losing track of whatever you have identified. System gives you a capability of adding a draft issue. User can easily go and create a draft issue, and the draft issue can stay in the system as long as you don't map it to a work paper. You can, whenever you execute a work paper and you see that now this issue is relevant, you can associate it with the work paper. Another aspect other than the draft issue that we have got in the system is the consolidated issues. Now, let me open the consolidated issues. This feature is added because in case if you have similar issues created in the system and you want to consolidate it to reduce the duplicacy, to reduce the redundancy, you can do that. Assume that issue 1 and 2 are of the same nature, and instead of following 2 different issues or managing 2 different issues, you want to consolidate into 1 issue. And that's where the consolidated issue is going to come very nifty, and it will be quite useful in consolidating issues of the same nature or the same time. Now, moving forward, the next feature that I would like to talk about is related to the work paper. We've seen that work papers, there was an option that we were seeing when we were going through the audits, that the work papers can have co-auditors. And this is the feature that we've added. And here you can see that there's a button that's now enabled. And when you go to the audit, you go to the work paper, there's an action that will help you in adding the co-auditors or update the co-auditors. And this is where when I click it, system is going to pop up that Do you want to add another co-auditor, or do you want to modify a co-auditor? So let me just see, and let me say that let me add the lead auditor too, also as part of the co-auditing activity. So that's where it gives you a good view into collaboration, and different teams can work together and collaborate and work on the same work paper to fast track the activities. So this is where update co-auditors can be a very useful feature where you want different auditors to work together on a work paper. The next feature that I have is about breaking. Again, this is a change related to the work paper, and what we have done is we have broken down the monolithic architecture in which the design and operational effectiveness used to happen together. What we get to know from our customers and how the industry is working on the design and operational effectiveness work paper is that design effectiveness is conducted almost like once a year, whereas you have more frequent operational effectiveness. Now, if we are going to combine it together and have a tight couple between them, it will be very difficult to have frequent execution of operational effectiveness. This is where we have broken it down. And whenever you have an interim update to a design effectiveness work paper, the user can easily go and submit and trigger test. Now, what submit and trigger test is going to do, it's going to create an operational effective work paper automatically related to this design effectiveness. And that's where we have decoupled the feature, and this gives you a lot of flexibility in executing the design and operational effectiveness work paper. Now, talking about the other capability that we have got in the audit reports. So we have integrated audit reports with Microsoft Office Word, and this is where you don't have to maintain different versions of the report in your system, or you should not be losing track of different documents that are getting exchanged over the emails. Rather than you will use this feature, which will now directly open the Microsoft Word application on your machine, and then you can start updating the document directly at the server. And this is where this feature is going to bring a lot of collaboration, and it will ensure that you don't end up maintaining different documents for the same report, which will avoid a lot of confusion. Also, one of the nifty features that we have enabled is when you hover over the file name, you will get to know a lot of details related to the same. And that's what we have done over here. Now, let me talk about one more important feature, and the last one for this demo is in the audit reports, what we have done is, so let me go back to the audit report. The different options that you have in audit report is that you can send it for approval, you can either send it for review, or you can send it to the auditee. And that's where there are a lot of options in which you can exchange the audit reports for either approval or for the review procedure. Now, in this case, how do you see the traceability? What's happening to the audit report? That's where we have got a feature that will help user in understanding the different aspects and the transactions that have happened for an audit report, where we have introduced a field called as report transaction. And when you click it, it's going to open all the list of activities that are associated to an audit report. And that's where you get a very good control over the activities that have happened and a good traceability to understand what's happening to the audit report. Now, this was an end of the demo, but what do I want to share is that all the innovations and the new capabilities that we build as part of the system adds a lot of value to the way our customers use it. It equips our customers to not just get prepared for today, but also for tomorrow. And that's where we want to say that all the new features that we have built now, which are demonstrated, I'm sure that the teams, the internal auditing teams, and the management teams are going to add a lot of value when they're going to start using it. And this is where it's going to bring in different aspects or create different business values where you will be able to drive exceptional business performance. Using these features, you will be able to optimize audit productivity. Most important, you will be able to move just from the control-based approach to a more risk-based approach for any evolving business for your organization or managing the digital initiative, where you can become a true trusted advisor to the company. These features will also help you in getting visibility into potential opportunities and simplify control testing processes. So these are some of the key business values that you're going to get with the new features and the innovations that we have built. At the end, I would like to thank you for participating in this session, listening to me, understanding what we have built, and how this can help you and your team achieve the business goals. And I would also request that do attend other sessions which are quite informative and which are quite useful to learn what all innovation that MetricStream is doing.